All right, guys, sound selection. It's a huge topic, but I'm going to simplify it for you pretty simply. Is that sound is in four categories. Okay, we have the top line sound. Oops, let's go here. We have the top line sound. This is your memorable melody. Okay, then we have our harmony sound or sounds. This is the chords or the glue of the track. Then we have the contrast. This is the density of the track. This is your bass or your counter melody. And then lastly, we have rhythm. Now we also need to understand sound comes in different forms. Let me just quickly go through one thing and visually show you what sound looks like. If you don't understand what sound looks like, sound will always be this weird ethereal thing. Okay, but once you understand what sound actually is, like nobody ever asked the question, what's the difference between a square wave, sawtooth, sine wave, triangle wave? We're going to do that real quick for you guys who are more beginners or just simply want to level up your sound. Okay, so here we have Serum. Where's Serum? Here it is. All right, so now that we have Serum open, it's not about a plugin. It's about understanding the purpose of sound. What are we trying to do? Okay, so let's go here and let's switch this to basic shapes to get started. So if I mute my mic, you guys can see a sine wave is really just one frequency on this chart. Now, another way to make this chart a little bit easier real quick for the more advanced folks, open up Wave Candy and then turn up your resolution and then turn up your scale so that you can see the lower frequencies. So my voice is made up of tons of frequencies. As you guys can see the patterns, there's these like patterns. You kind of see the same pattern showing over and over and over. Those are called harmonics. Notice the S has a noise thing to it. It's just one static area. There's no tune to an S. Whereas if when I talk, I can go up and down in pitch. Okay, I can go up and down in pitch. Now these mirrored frequencies are called harmonics. They're multiples of a frequency. Every sound starts with what's called a fundamental frequency. And I won't bore you with the whole sound design course here, but when you play a sine wave, for example, and I'm going to mute my mic, it's just one horizontal line. Okay, it's called a fundamental frequency. Now, once we start adding, I'll show you guys harmonics real quick. So here's the first harmonic, the fundamental frequency. Now what happens if we add the second harmonic? We're adding another note to the actual sound. Okay, because now we're adding a completely different frequency to the sound. Let's add the third harmonic. We're literally playing three different notes right now. Let's add the fourth harmonic. And then we get the octave. So what we're doing is the more harmonics I have in a sound, the more frequency content we're literally achieving. So if I add a ton of harmonics like this, we get a sound that's full of frequency. So if your track lacks density, quite literally, you need more frequencies in your track. How do you create frequencies? You multiply those fundamentals frequencies until you get harmonics. And that's what timbre is. Timbre is the shaping of harmonics using EQ, saturation, compression, etc. So once you simplify sound like, oh, that's the difference between sound is how many horizontal lines I have on the frequency grid. Like it makes sound way easier to comprehend. Okay, so here's a sine wave, for example. Let me stop talking. Okay, so it's a horizontal line. Now what about the triangle wave? We have more harmonics, but they're very soft. Now what about the square wave? We have a lot of harmonics, and if I change the scale, you guys can see it a little more clearly. Let's change the scale here. Okay, you can see there's a lot of harmonics, but they're very gappy. Okay, now if we switch this to a sawtooth, let's switch this to a sawtooth. We get a lot of harmonics, but they're not as gappy. They're more dense, or it looks more dense. Those are even harmonics. You don't have to memorize this. Square wave is odd harmonics. Now, what happens if we switch this to noise? What is noise? Okay, let's turn on some noise. Let's do analog white noise. So noise is just a random distribution of frequency. So once you understand that everything starts with a sine wave, the one frequency, the fundamental frequency, that's your low energy sounds, quote unquote, your soft sounds, because it's only one frequency or, a very small amount of harmonics of a sound. Now, once we start adding the bite to a sound, the distortion to a sound, we get a square wave for the most part, odd harmonics. Okay. We get the odd harmonics to a that grit. You know, when we push a kick into a soft clipper, we're really turning it into a square wave, and we're adding more frequency content to the track. So once you guys simplify everything to this basic understanding about simple sound waves, the 4 simple sound waves, you will understand everything about sound, because now you can understand if you want more energy in your track, you're really asking yourself, how do I turn this sound into a square wave? How do I turn this sound into a sawtooth to add more frequencies to the track? If your sound feels too full and you need it, to create separation between sounds, now you know that I need to remove some harmonics because it's too much going on. I need the ear to be able to separate the harmonic gaps. And now you create distance and separation. So here's what I'll do, because this is completely off the cuff. I did not plan this. So what I'll do here, or I did plan it, but I didn't practice this, I should say. So what I'll do here is open up the channel rack, and I'll pick 4 random plugins, and I'll stack them in these categories: top line, harmony, contrast, and rhythm. All right, so let's right click. Let's replace this. Let me make sure it's an actual plugin I can load up before I hit start. So I'm going to close my eyes and land. So Funky Fingers, I don't think I have that installed. Let's close my eyes, land. Gold Clip's not a sound operator. I don't think I have Infinity Player. Okay, Fruity DX10. Okay, so we started at Fruity DX10. I'm going to pick another one. Spectre is not a sound generator. OTT is not either. I forget. I think I have Roland. So this should work. If it asks me to log in, I'm just going to get pissed. Okay, so it doesn't ask me to log in. Cool. So now let's choose another plugin here. Autogun. That one's the only reason I'm not picking Autogun is because you can't. I guess, let's go with what I said. Okay, Autogun. And then lastly, Mini Freak V. Okay, I don't even know what this is. Mini Freak V. Let's see what it is. All right, so I have no idea what this plugin even sounds like. So what I'm going to do is categorize sounds. Remember, we have a top line, a harmony, a contrast, and a rhythm. Most of the time, rhythm is usually your percussion stuff, but it can also be a sound generating plugin. So now I'm going to pick a sound from DX10 and say, which category of sound do I want this specific thing to be? In this case, let's pick the log drum, because I know the Amapiano folks. Shout out to X Dizzle. Okay, let's create a rhythm section. Now this can also be a contrast because it's going to be a low frequency sound. Let's do something like that, and let's go down an octave. Let's do dun. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so apparently loop recording was on. Let's do this again. Okay, let's quantize these notes. Said Alt Q. I forgot I had the actually my Alt Q is a little bit different. I forgot I had a template in here. How do we get rid of this template? Can we dump it? Default. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we have now that we have that sound, we need to categorize the sound. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in the contrast layer, but it also has a rhythm to it. So technically this is rhythm and contrast in one sound, but because, for the sake of the video, I'll say it's a contrast sound. Now let's pick the next plugin here. Now I have not used these plugins. I don't even know what this sounds like. So this could be a top line if I use the lead sound. I don't know if this has pad sounds in it, so let's just quickly see what's actually in here. We have bass sounds, we have synth sounds. These really sound like top line sounds. So I'll use this sound even though it's not meant for chords. We're going to start building chords. I'm assuming I can play polyphonic in this. It's kind of hard to tell what that sound is doing. So now we're creating a harmony layer. Okay, this sounds like a monophonic synth. Okay, I'm trying not to go too deep into every little detail, but I think this is a monophonic synth. For that reason, we can't play multiple notes the way I understand it. Yeah, so it's monophonic. So we will use this as a top line. So I'm going to come back to that sound because I want to set the chords up first. So in Autogun, I forget how to even use this. Okay, we hit the next arrow and it creates a sound for us. Whoa, that is a weird sound. Cool sound, but not really. We need something that we can create chords with. This could work. Not the greatest sound in the world, but you get the gist. Okay, so for this section here, I'm now focusing on the harmony. Harmony is the foundation for the top line. Contrast gives density to the track. Okay, so harmony gives it the glue, I'll say. So let's right click, go here. So dun. So we started on B, dun, 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 dun. And then we go to E. Okay, so these are the notes I know are for sure gonna resonate with that bass. So now I have to ask, okay, is B the top note? Is it the bottom note? Are we in the, what scale are we in? I don't have time to explain everything about everything, y'all. So we're gonna assume that B is the top note. And then now we're gonna assume that E is the top note. And let's do D minor chord here. D minor ninth. Okay, so as you guys can hear, every sound has a purpose. Okay, so now let's turn this up a little bit. And I've not heard these sounds before. Now let's create the top line. Actually, I don't know what mini freak is, so mini freak can also be used as a... Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take the chords from Autogun. We're going to go over to the mini freak plugin, and we're going to try some stuff like arpeggiating this sound. Okay, going up 3 octaves to give this a rhythm. And we can also do the chord type. Okay, so now we're creating rhythm for that chord. Okay, now it's at the top line. Now I'm going to freestyle the top line. So the first chord, I forgot what we played. So they're basically minor chords. What I'll do to freestyle here is use the minor pentatonic. I'm going to use my typing keyboard icon, left click here, and then right click. Let's go to minor pentatonic. And I usually do it an octave higher than the chords. So let's do octave 5. I'm going to go to SH101. We're going to find a sound and then freestyle over time. So I'm just using my typing keyboard. I forgot to set the root note here. So the root note is A. So we need to right click and then make sure that root note is actually A, so that we're in the A natural minor pentatonic scale. Okay, so now we have the lead sound. I'll quantize this. And now to get to the genre, genre is about not only the music theory behind it, but also the sounds in the genre. So now if we want to be genre specific, we could just simply swap out to the plugin that everybody in that genre uses, or the one-shot sample everybody uses. But this is how we can stack. I picked random sounds, y'all, and we just made them work. It's because it's a system behind this. So now I could ask myself, how do I make this harder, quote unquote harder? I need harmonic information so I can push the sound. What I'll do, which won't match this vibe at all, is add a drum break to save a lot of time here, because we don't have time to be making an entire beat. Let's add a Beat Butcher drum break in here. Okay, so let's do this, double click. And what I'll do is I'm gonna push the drums into some kind of saturation, whether that's a saturator plugin or whether that's compression or whether it's clipping. And now I'm going to add effects just to show you guys, like, I can pick random sounds and make them work. Let's start adding effects here. For the sake of this video, I'm going to pause the video, chop up the drums a little bit to change the rhythm. All right, so I had to chop up the drums. Still not the perfect rhythm, but it was just, I had to get rid of the clashing there. Okay, so now we have all the parts. Really, the rhythm. Okay, so here's the advanced part, is that once we have these 4 sections, to add more instruments, they need to fit into a category. So I could add more layers of my chords with my synthesizers and do a bunch of like top line expressive layers. That's what I call them, expressive layers. Okay, so understand it needs to match what's happening on the core layer. So if I have harmony, it needs to match this harmony section, or at least harmonize with the harmony. And that's where you get really advanced about layering. And the rhythm section, the key part is that we need to match rhythms. The biggest flaw I see in amateur stuff, they'll have like 7 rhythms going on, and it's just too all over the place. There's no one cohesive rhythm. Okay, so let's say I wanted to push the sound, for example. Let's saturate these drums. And again, I'm just throwing stuff together here. We're not like, you guys saw the whole process. I'm picking random stuff. Okay, so let's go here. We're gonna add some modulation here. This is a little more advanced. Don't follow these steps to the T. I'm just getting the sound to do what I need it to do. So now we're saturating the drums here. So if I want a more aggressive sound, I need to add frequencies. So here's, you know, the drums before the saturation. Here's after. That kick just goes boom. Instead of boom, it goes boom like that. Okay. Again, the rhythms don't match perfectly. So to let my brain rest, we're going to separate the drums and the bass. Or, you know what we could do? We could recompose the drums now that we have the actual, or the bass. Instead of doom, 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 let's do trecio, which is trecio, trecio. I need to go to a quarter step here. So trecio always works most of the time. It's trecio, not triplets. Triplets is 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Trecio is trecio, trecio. It repeats. It's the drill rhythm. It's the Afrobeat rhythm. It's the mob music rhythm. It's the trap rhythm. It's trecio. Okay, let's just customize the sound a little bit. So now we're adding effects to change out the sound. All right, and then we could swap out the sounds again for genre specific stuff. So instead of do, let's figure out a genre we want to make. Let's say we want to make new jazz. Now, new jazz is also music theory, but let's say we want to make some new jazz stuff. I'm going to swap out the chords first. Let's do, instead of autogun, let's use something like Morphine. We want some E pianos as the chords. Let's go to keyboards. Let's use Crystal. Where is it at? Crystal EP. And let's pull this down a couple octaves. Now remember, music theory goes deeper. And let's add a little strum. Now for the arpeggio, we could do different things like arpeggiate the entire chord. So instead of doing that, we can go to the modes here. And this is where genre specificity comes into play, but it's the same concept. Let's do none. We just need to slow this down. it sounds pretty cool, but let's swap it out for just a different plugin just to show you guys we can really pretty much do anything. Let's go to preset. Let's add one thing here. I know I'm getting into the weeds here. Let's add some portamento for the pitch bend effect. So it has more like new jazz sound. Wonder why the arpeggio isn't working on this. Wonder why. I'm not sure why it's not going this way. I think because this has a built-in arp. That's probably why. So remember, this is the rhythm. So as long as this rhythm matches, now swap out that lead sound. Let's add Salter. Salter has really good sounds here. Where's the preset? Let's go to preset. And the lead sounds are very good. We're just going to drop it down 1 octave. So as you guys can hear, it starts with the technique first, and then the the little details about sound. So let's edit some of these details on the synth. So you guys just saw me turn that random mess into something that makes sense for the genre. Let's even keep this sound, the log drums. Let's just add some pretty stereo enhancer. Now the drums would not match new jazz technically. This drum break. Let's add one more detail to our chords here. So this is more advanced. I learned this from Synthit. We could basically make these different MIDI channels by clicking on it, changing the color to a different color. And as long as we create a pitch slide of the same color, this color will slide to the pitch slide. So what does that sound like? Just double click, add a slide note with the same MIDI channel, which is the same color. So it only slides between these notes and not the entire chord. So usually I pitch slide down 7 notes or to the 5th. That's a cool thing you guys could try. It just adds a little more movement. So it's like that. Okay, so since we spent the time to make a beat, we might as well pick some more like modern drums I would use for new jazz. I think we have a kit. We'll just use the XTC kit. Here's some pretty dope stuff. Now again, is this like new jazz to the T? We didn't do a lot of stuff, but I'm just showing you guys. So you may say, okay, I want to add an 808. Which notes do I play? We already have the contrast layer mapped out. It's just a matter of, do we layer the sounds or do we swap the sound out? Whoops, wrong sound. Meant to do the clap. Just gonna mute my mic and add some drums here. So what I'll do kind of to keep this simple is we're going to copy the contrast layer. Depending on how you guys started the contrast layer, if you did it with an 808 to begin with, it might just be one note. And you need, if you're adding chords to a track, the bass notes need to reimburse the chords. Okay, so sometimes we need to make a very dynamic bass line. It just depends on the sound. So that's the only part that I could say is the dynamic in this case. So we're going to swap out the log drum for the 808. Not that this is a perfect swap. Just showing you guys. Now what I would do for this genre is go to the envelope, turn the hold parameter up, turn everything else down. And now we play it as if it were a bass synth. Let's pull this up a couple octaves. So it's nice and truncated. And to make this, we're really getting into production at this point. To make the sample stand out, I'm going to go to the pre-computed effects, turn up stereo delay to make it wider. Let's see if we can play these both at the same time. It just muddies the ear. The ear's confused as to what's, what. So in this case, we would swap one contrast layer for the next. And this is what arrangement is. Understanding there's 4 groups to move between. And if you guys want to extend the song and have changes, we need to change one of these groups or omit one of these groups. Okay, so now we can create a different rhythm for the 808. We can sit here and really produce an entire track. I was showing you guys like how to simplify all this. So now I'm going to add little jumps in the 808. Okay, so now it's just a matter of sound design and really honing in you guys' unique touch. I want to mess with the rhythm section, the arpeggio. So if you notice, this the top line wasn't above the chords and it was blending in with the bass layer, the contrast layer. So let's separate that. I'm adding the pro touches to the sound here. So now I'm just gonna mix the log drum to be a little more aggressive for the beginning. And again, we're just gonna copy over that saturation. Actually, let's just route that to channel 10 for more aggressive sound here. And now we're increasing the harmonic content. Now I'm turning the top line into more of a texture layer using this plugin here. Let's push the sound harder by running our sounds through a soft clipper. frequency information by adding harmonics using saturation wave shapers. So we're adding frequencies to make it feel more dense. Okay, so now we just swap out the 808. Again, we can sit here and produce, the video is already probably 40 minutes long. I just wanted to show you guys, this is a process and it works. So use more of a tonal 808. So now we're just moving around that tresillo pattern. So I just proved to you guys in real time, outside of me pausing the video with the drums, how sound selection works. It's not like only you choose sounds from the genre all the time. So I had to show you guys the full process so that you can understand how sound selection works. It's categories first, then genre. If you guys want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium and subscribe if you're new. Peace.